G'day everybody, Duckville here. Welcome to a StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm replay. This is going to be a Terran vs Zerg, and it is taking place on Habitation Station. This is a match that was part of the WCS CNA qualifiers, and it sounds really weird to say it that way, but that's kind of what we've got. But yeah, this will be a Terran vs Zerg, which of course is a slightly rarer matchup in the C region. Of course, we have very few Terran players and very few Protoss players, but a bajillion Zerg players. So this is why we do quite often get to see a lot of Zerg players here. But this time, we're seeing one of the very top level Terran players that we have here in Australia, in particular, not just C, but in Australia. This young man, StoicWilly from Silicon Sports, is here, and he's going to be facing off against a Zerg player who I'm sure they've had a couple of battles before. StoicWilly, as I mentioned, is a really good Terran player who has certainly risen up quite nicely. He's part of the Silicon Sports team and has really shown to be one of the top contenders for pretty much top Terran player around here, I guess you could say. And in fact, I'm pretty sure he also lives near me down here in Melbourne. But anyway, his opponent over on the top right-hand side, our green Zerg player here, currently playing for Team ChxM. It is Crimson. And Crimson is a young gentleman living over in New Zealand at the moment who's definitely one of the best players in New Zealand, I guess you could say, but also a very high-level Zerg player in the C region itself. He's playing here in the, I believe this was the lower bracket. There was of course, basically, if you're not sure what WCSC NA qualifiers were, it was basically a qualifying series for the two spots that were pre-selected for a couple of C entrants. It was to give the sort of the C region a little bit more representation in the NA WCS qualifiers. So basically, we had a little tournament down here, double elimination bracket tournament that was hosted by ACL Pro, was broadcasted by the lovely Zeph and also very handsome Maynard over on the ACL Pro stream. And this was one of the games that they unfortunately were not able to broadcast. Of course, there were a lot of games going on, so they weren't able to broadcast everything. But yeah, this is definitely one of them which I was told was a pretty interesting game. So we'll see what happens here. Crimson is going to be getting some hatchery, some gas, some spawning pool, all the things going. He's unfortunately just slightly misclicked there with one of his drones. I hope he doesn't let that go for too long. It's really crazy how much yeah, there you go, fixes that up. It's crazy how much just sort of a slight differentiation in your income can really matter when it comes to your build. Like a lot of the time, say for example, if you put down just with a completely different build, let's say you put down a 14 gas and then a 14 pool, as long as you put your 3 workers straight into the gas straight away, you'll then, as soon as the spawning pool comes up, you'll have just 100 gas so that you can start your ling speed really quickly. So like syncing up timings and that kind of stuff is very important with Zerg. Of course, it's important for the other two races as well, but I feel it can really mess up Zerg sometimes if you don't have things going according to plan. So Crimson's going to be opening up here with his hatchery first. As we mentioned, a couple of queens that just popped out. We've got some drones on the way. We also do have a few lings that popped out. He's got 6, which is a little bit higher than what you normally see. Like a lot of the time, some Zerg players will just they just won't bother getting too many more than 4 lings right at the start, just because your general kind of opening from a Terran is going to involve a Reaper, and at the start Reapers can very easily get away from and also kill off some of the Zerglings. So sometimes people just go for a slightly lower ling count, favoring drones and just trying to micro about their drones properly so that they so that they don't lose any of their workers or anything like that. Now we did have it was a Roach Warren, I believe, that was just building there for Crimson. Now StoicWilly is just bouncing on through. He's having a look inside the main base, looking to see what's going on. He can still see that there's a little bit of gas coming in from Crimson here, so there could be some kind of interesting opening coming out from our Zerg player. StoicWilly doing an excellent job just keeping this Reaper alive, just scouting what's going on, seeing that there's a lot of drones, so it's not necessarily something too crazy too early from the Zerg player. But also just giving Crimson a little bit of a tough time knowing that there is a Reaper around and it could perhaps grab a drone kill or two somewhere. In fact, this is what we may see right now as one of the drones is coming across. Is Crimson going to get it out in time? No, he doesn't. And then the Reaper will also jump out and get away for now. So just to quickly look back at what StoicWilly is up to, his natural has been established. We've got a very, very standardized kind of build here. We've started to see the I guess the reintegration of Cloak Banshees as a very common build in TvZ, thanks to the change to the cloak price, and then also, of course, in the fact that you can't do Hellbat drops anymore. Well, you can, but they're not as ridiculous as they were in the innovation days. But Hellbat drops aren't as effective. Widowmine drops aren't as effective, and so it sort of brings things to a level playing field when it comes to harassment. Now, obviously, one of the big things about having these Banshees out early is that you can have not only the harassment potential, but also the potential to block off some various run-by attacks. But speaking of run-bys, ChxM just finding his way inside the natural base, almost made it into the main, but the door was up just in time. It looks as if StoicWilly will lose a couple of his workers. In fact, a few of those very important mules were looking like they were going to go down. The Hellions that were across the map have now found their way all the way back across the map. ChxM again looking for the open door, but unfortunately does not find it. The attack is cleaned up. However, there were a couple of worker kills. 4 worker kills here for ChxM. It looks as if, yeah, he does have some more lings now on the way, being very aggressive. The Roach Warren is up. We don't have a Baneling Nest, so he's not going to be trying to bust down the door or anything like that. However, those lings are still out and about, looking to try and find another few units to pick off, perhaps an open door that they can jump into. But StoicWilly, he's locked the front door this time. He's not going to let anything in. There's a couple of Marines in this bunker as well that can hold things off for now, and he is fine to head back across the map and get some harassment started. So interesting openings here from ChxM, just being very aggressive, making a lot of lings there. He's obviously now at 41 on the drone count to his opponent's 32. Lings now looking again, just sort of splattering against that front door, just having to back off for now. The Banshees, what kind of damage have the Banshees been getting done? Looks like we do have one that is inside the natural base, getting a little bit of damage done here. He's got a couple of workers now evening the count, taking it higher. The Spore Crawler is just about to finish up, and that will provide some detection here for these Queens. The first Banshee forced to retreat for now. Heading inside the natural, there is some vision and a Queen there, so it's not as if he's going to get a huge amount of damage done. But I believe we did have... where was the second Banshee? Okay, second Banshee's still across on this side of the map. I'm not sure if that was intentional or not by StoicWilly, but he has kept that Banshee over here, and I guess he may be just being very careful about those lings. You will see them just on the ground as he heads back across the map. There is another Banshee that was just about to finish up as well, and we are going into a mech play here from StoicWilly, so it does look like he's going to go for something that I really think favors this particular map, and we'll talk about why in a second. We haven't actually had too much of a look at what goes on this map, but as we can see, we've got drones coming out from ChxM, just trying to catch up with where he would really want to be a little bit earlier. +1 on missile and carapace now coming through, so he's going to go. It looks as if he might be just preparing a lot of roaches for defense, and then possibly looking to take advantage of the mobility of roaches, given that he is going to be up against mech. So he may want to try and do some drops or something like that. I would probably guess that drops would be a nice idea on this map when you're up against mech. Of course, when you're a Zerg player up against mech, there's sort of a time limit. It gets to a certain point where mech is just ridiculous to try and stop, and I mean, every Zerg player who's played against it will know exactly what I'm talking about. I played against it the other day, and I was just kind of, this gets really, really hard to try and deal with, but of course, there are some times, and quite a few little timings, especially early on, where you can take advantage of mech. So it looks as if ChxM is going to build up 13 roaches. He's already got a bunch on the field right now, and he is going to try and brute force his way up the ramp. And we'll see if StoicWilly is going to be prepared for this. A couple of siege tanks are up and running. He's got a myriad of Hellions. I'm a little bit surprised to see that many Hellions, but a couple of Widowmines at the front door are going to help keep those roaches away for now, and StoicWilly is going to know that there are a lot of roaches out on the map, so he's going to have to be prepared for that kind of thing. We can see now that ChxM's economy is just boosted up a little bit. He's got 9 more drones on the way. 1-1 on weapons and carapace is now just morphing in as well, and it looks as if StoicWilly is not going to have to face the danger of this this big attack here. Now, I can kind of see what ChxM was wanting to go for there. That the 1-1 kind of attack with a lot of roaches. We've got there's at least 26 roaches out on the field, and I mean, you can do a lot of work with that, and if you can somehow bust through the door, then that kind of mech army can be quite easy to pick apart. But I mean, there are so many Hellions that are going to tank up, and they're going to just sort of protect the siege tanks for quite a while. It means that it's going to be hard to try and bust up the ramp. So he does back off for now. Looks like a single Viking is now just poking about the map, trying to find a kill here and there. Infestation Pit researching Enduring Locust so that Crimson can switch into some Swarm Host play, which has now become a quite a common sight to see, not only in this matchup but also in ZVP as well. Of course, we get to see a lot of Zerg players using the Swarm Host, and here we go. It looks as if Crimson wants to have a quick peek at what's going on at the front door here. A couple of Widow Mines will destroy a lot of the roaches up at the top side. The tanks and the Hellions down on the ground have cleaned up a lot of the rest of the roaches here. So this is a point where, for me, when I'm watching Zerg players, I kind of, alright, you gotta sit back, you gotta think, alright, it's gonna be very hard to try and bust through this particular area here that StoicWilly is setting up. Just due to the nature of this map, all you need to do as a Terran player, as I have actually tried a couple of times, is actually wall this off here, whether it be with a couple of supply depots and then maybe a planetary fortress or something like that. Wall that off for now, and then just focus on protecting this area here. If you've got a planetary fortress somewhere here, a couple of turrets or something like that, then what you can do is just hold this massive kind of area where you've protected all of your bases basically at once. And the only other thing you'll need to do after that is set up a couple of missile turrets, just sort of ring the edge of your base, make sure it's protected from drops and of course from Nidus worms, and then you're all good to go. You'll be mining off a gold base. The Zerg player needs to catch up in their own economy somehow, and that's going to be, obviously up to them. And that allows you, as a Terran player, to build up your tank forces, get some, perhaps some Thors on the field as well, maybe throw in some random harassment units such as these Hellions, which are now making their way into the main base of Crimson, but also just to slowly prepare things and move towards the endgame tech of Mech Terran, which generally will revolve around a Raven as a key unit, and then also in latter stages, of course, Vikings and battle cruisers. So that's normally what you're going to be looking for when you are going into a mech play. Establish a zone of exclusion here, kind of like this, and then try and put up a little bit of harassment if you can, but then make sure you're continually moving your tech forwards, and in particular, get that Raven count up. So for our Zerg player, we're wondering what Crimson is going to be doing here. He does need to make sure that the creep spread is consistent. If you do not spread through the middle and establish these sort of middle portions of the map, then you're going to have a very hard time keeping up the pressure. Now, one thing that we have seen in quite a lot of ZVT games is that people will say, let's get 93 swarm hosts and just have a bajillion locusts heading towards the Terran, and eventually I'll get through. It gets to a point where we're almost there actually, when you sort of get to around about that sort of 15, 16 tank mark, is that it doesn't matter how many locusts you have, they are all going to get shot down. They tend to clump up a bit, and once the tanks have at least +2 on their weapons, then they just absolutely annihilate things. So going up to mass swarm host play is something that I would strongly advise against if you're a Zerg player wondering how to deal with this kind of thing. Definitely do get some swarm hosts, but I don't like seeing people go mass swarm hosts. I just think it's very vulnerable, and we'll probably see why as StoicWilly starts to add in some Ravens as we move along. But for the moment, the swarm hosts are doing a good job. What are they doing? They're sort of keeping, as you continually send in these swarm hosts here, this means that the tanks and these kinds of things are always stuck in this position. The moment you unsiege those tanks and start to, perhaps if you look to head across to the fourth base, then you can expose a small weakness in your defense. So you've got to be very careful as a Terran player to pick the right timings to unsiege and move some of your tanks. But of course, the Zerg player, while all this is going on, hold the Terran back with a swarm host. Get your hive tech, as we can see here from Crimson. Get your spire. I would even advise a second spire, but also be taking a bunch of bases and protecting them properly as well. As we can see here from Crimson, a couple of spine crawlers, a spore as well, just to keep some of those air units out. And as long as you are continually keeping the Terran back, making sure that he doesn't pick up a fourth base, then you're still doing okay. But there obviously, as we said, there does come a time when things start to become very, very dangerous. But Crimson moves forwards with some of his swarm posts. I'm not too sure about this, as Hellbats have given vision on the top of the ramp. The tanks have set up their battery of shots coming in there, and they do annihilate a lot of the army. But this is another big thing that is a really big feature of dealing with mech in ZVT, is big switches like this. 25 meters are on the way. We've got +1 to air weapons coming through. We've still got a little bit of a ways to go with some of the other upgrades, but Crimson, of course, has spent a lot of his gas and a lot of his extra time sort of setting up the muta switch. But we'll see how much they can do. The mutas are now on the way. The gold base is, it's got a little bit of protection from air. I mean, there's a couple of turrets there, but not a huge amount. If there was a larger count of mutas, I'd say you could probably just stomp through this base extremely quickly, then head straight into the main. But he comes through regardless, takes down 1, 2, and 3 turrets, and now these SCVs are up for grabs. Very easily killed off there by Crimson. It's a good maneuver to try and get these guys on the field. A couple of big Widowmine hits kill off a little bit of the health there, but there are a couple of turrets randomly strewn about, but Crimson has managed to find a small hole in this network of defense here from StoicWilly, and he picks off a few of the tanks. This has been excellent trading here. I mean, if you can pick off some of these tanks, unfortunately now he's going to have a bit of a troublesome time. 2 Thors and then those Vikings at the back, but I mean, picking off the tanks is always really, really good. It's just unfortunate that this time we haven't been able to get a 5th base. We still do not have the gold. I'm very surprised that we have not taken the gold here as a Zerg player. But he's now, as we can see, we're going to get the economy established. We've got 12 more swarm hosts on the way to try and keep the Terran back. And then what you want to have happen is you want to prepare for Broodlords. Broodlords and Vipers, I think, are really, really good ways of dealing with mech. Just need to add in some Corruptors as well, so you can deal with those pesky Vikings up in the air. And then all you need to do is start laying down some good blinding clouds on top of big clumps of tanks. And we'll illustrate that just now. As we can see, StoicWilly, this is all very clumped up. That is great. That is just awesome blinding cloud territory right there. And as soon as some of your free units start coming in, the Locusts, the Broodlings as well, they will annihilate a lot of those units on the ground. But StoicWilly, it does, as we said before, when you try and move out to take a 4th base, you can start to expose yourself a bit. Crimson recognizes this, moves in to take out at least 1, maybe 2 of these command centers. Well, I think he's gonna, yeah, he gets 1, but not the other one. Alright, so we trade a couple of a command center and some units for a, what looks to be, well, almost a base there, but it looks like StoicWilly is gonna turn back and head straight in. This is the, you know, we were talking about big switches and stuff like that. Additionally to big switches in terms of tech, like switching over to mutas, switching to roaches, all this kind of stuff, I really think that adding in a drop every now and then is quite helpful. Like, StoicWilly has a little bit of air defense here inside the main base, but there is still a path to go down the back. Drop in here, take out the armories, take out maybe some of the production facilities there as well. But there is certainly a little bit of space to do this kind of thing. You don't need to go absolutely nuts about it. You don't have to drop 90, 100 bloody roaches or anything, but just do something with it. You need to be able to keep the Terran. You need to make sure that this Terran is not in a static position, just slowly building up his tech and the Ravens and that kind of thing, because when that happens, it gets to that point where you can't do a single thing. So StoicWilly is he's almost mined out at his natural base. The gold, keep in mind, has not been reset at all, so he's had a little bit of trouble with some of his income here. I think StoicWilly needs to really just try and see if he can just hold a position for the moment, just reset things in this defensive area here, and just try and get the gold back up and running, get his economy back into a nice position, because at the moment he's still only mining around about 1,000 minerals per minute, whereas Crimson, now with a gold base, he's going to bring in some extra money there, along with possible gas as well. His 5th is now done. He's going to start to move into the territory where he can just get mass upgrades, and as we can see, he's already getting +3 to missile attacks, 2 to carapaces on the way. We'd love to see a 2nd Spire as well to keep the Spire upgrades coming, but I know he's probably a little bit busy with all the other things going on across the map right now. But yeah, I really think that part of the way you can do really well in ZVT is to get that air army started. Some Broodlords, Vipers, all those kinds of cool things. So StoicWilly now just running on by, gets some Winter Mines inside the 5th base of Crimson, but now as we move across towards the 4th, the drones are forced to evacuate. Blue Flame Hellions coming in, looking for the big line 'em up moment, and there they get picked apart, but they do still kill off quite a few workers. 35 to 47 is the worker kill tally right now. But now is the time. It's almost the 30-minute mark, and that's traditionally for me when I'm casting. That's the point where I start to say, all right, where are the Ravens? Bring on the Ravens, because that's the point when you should have at least 3 or 4 bases as the Mech Terran at that point, and you should have established yourself, which StoicWilly has now done. He's moved the line of defense. You can sort of see how we were talking about when he had the gold base before, just up here. He actually, the zone of exclusion, as I was calling it, was kind of here with a wall just down to the side. So we've cleared out most of this base up here. So we've moved the line. The line now consists of a much longer sort of presence just across here, where he's deflecting units from coming in these paths. He wants to be able to stop the Zerg from being able to push in here on the what is kind of a 4th base at this point. So this is what StoicWilly is kind of aiming for at the moment. He's also looking to get that Raven count up. The Vikings will start to increase in numbers as well, so keep an eye on the Viking count. Ship weapons at level 3 is just about done as well. As we can see, he's continuing on with the upgrades. Speaking of upgrades, of course, for Crimson, +3 to Carapace is on the way. The Greater Spire now just morphing it as well. We did see some Corruptors out on the field. He's probably going to switch these into Broodlords very soon. But we have also prepared the Ultralisk Cannon. Got a bunch of random roaches that have been added onto the field. I'm not too sure what the deal was with those guys, but a couple of roaches, if they're used for drops, as we said before, wouldn't hurt anybody. But +1 to melee attacks is also just coming along. So lots of upgrading, lots of very passive kind of play at the moment, as the players are just sort of re-establishing themselves. In the long term, this does work a lot better for the Terran. As we said before, if the Terran can work up a Raven count anywhere above like 12, 13, 14, then the game is basically done. It gets so hard to deal with Hunter Seeker missiles, point defense drones, and of course, you know, you can even throw an auto turret in every now and then, which can just, they can be quite annoying to deal with. And now with StoicWilly starting to establish his 4th or 5th base, depending on how you want to call it, he is going to start to have a lot more gas coming in, which is really important for those Ravens, as he will start to look to bring some more Ravens onto the field. But for the moment, he's maxed out. He's 200 out of 200. He kind of, what's our SCV count? 45 SCVs. You could probably get rid of a couple of these. I mean, we've got a little bit of a bank at the moment. Maybe put together a couple of extra orbital commands, but now he does dive in towards the 5th base here. He's going to kill off some of the drones. Even the Spine Crawler is in jeopardy there, but he backs out for now. The rest of the Zerg forces are on their way. They're marching down. Even all of the Swarm hosts are on their way down. I don't know how this is going to work, but I think, okay, yeah. He's spotted the 4th base down at the bottom side of the map, so StoicWilly will have to move his line of defense very soon. There's a couple of tanks here and a couple more just to the back, but they're not in the greatest of positions to defend this new base. But it looks as if Crimson unfortunately sent his swarm host in the wrong direction. Meanwhile, those Hellions that we saw running about down at the 5th have now run their way into the main base. The Queen in a little bit of trouble. Will he be able to get that at a minimum? It looks like it will be a no. Broodlords morphing in right on top of those Hellions. And I'm sure that for StoicWilly, he's going to be saying, alright, may need a couple more Ravens. And yeah, he's got 3 on the way, just about to pop out. And as he loses those Hellions, he's probably not going to replace them. Even at this point, I would be just throwing these guys away as well. There's no need to have these Hellions out on the field unless they're harassing somewhere. So yeah, StoicWilly going to throw a few of those away. There are a couple of Banshees also out on the field, which are quite helpful. But it looks as if Crimson is really starting to just regain a little bit of composure, setting up his bank. He's almost got 4,000 of each resource at this point, which is pretty crazy. And it's going to allow him some options for switching tech as well. Now we can see some Swarm Post. Or some Locusts, sorry, just making their way on by. Gonna get a shot off on that bunker there. It takes a tiny bit of damage, but nothing too serious. The Swarm hosts are in an interesting position as well. I kind of feel like a couple of these guys could be picked off by some Hunter Seekers very quickly, and in fact that is exactly what's going on. Looks as if the Banshees on the way through, these Broodlords are getting targeted down. Where are the Hunter Seekers on the Corruptors? There they are, targeting down those Corruptors. They fly out, perhaps a few too many Hunter Seekers, but all of those Swarm Hosts, all of those Corruptors have been picked off. Will drop off even a Hunter Seeker against these Hydras here. Taking out 2 of the Hydras, and the Broodlords have also been removed from the field. Corruptors on the way from Crimson. 5 Infestors. He's got to... I kind of feel like just adding in a couple of Vipers would be quite nice. This is getting to a point where Vipers aren't the greatest because there isn't going to be as much of a ground presence from the Terran player, but... Even having some Vipers out, if you can snag if you can grab just a random Raven somewhere, pick it off, keep that Raven count low, then like I mean that can really help you out. But as we can see, the army for StoicWilly is now starting to push into the late game special for Terran players, which is Raven, Viking, and BC. The reason why we have this kind of composition, if you're just wondering, of course, when there are a lot of Corruptors, get some Vikings out to deal with them. The Ravens can also help out with the Corruptors as well by throwing out the point defense drones and some Hunter Seeker missiles, and then your battle cruisers will do all of the rest. They will clean up everything on the ground, they will take out a lot of the stuff in the air as well, but though they're very slow. And I'm sure upon seeing a couple of battle cruisers, Crimson is going to be thinking, alright, I need to find a way to deal with this. He's very lucky, actually, that some of his Corruptors find a target, and a beautiful fungal growth as well. Hunter Seekers fly out, though. Looks like the Corruptors, for the most part, have been forced back. The Vikings are slowly being taken out. Some infested Terrans on the ground. Will they get the last shots off? Yes, they do. That is a beautiful trade there for Crimson, killing off a lot of that high-powered, expensive army that StoicWilly had. And now, as we can see, the Raven count goes down to 5, losing 1 battle cruiser, but a lot of Vikings there as well. And StoicWilly is going to have to repair a lot of this because he cannot lose this. This is getting to a stage where all of those minerals and all of that gas really does start to count. You need to be very efficient with this kind of army. It's much like having, kind of a later game kind of Protoss army consisting of, Void Rays, Colossus, and Templar. It will kill a lot of stuff, but you have to be as efficient as possible with it. You can't just be willy-nilly just running it out onto the field and getting caught by random fungal growth. So you got to be careful about that kind of stuff. So we'll see what StoicWilly, what his next maneuver is. If he's playing full-on Turtle Terran, I would really like to see him put down a couple planetary fortresses. Just protecting this area here with a couple of tanks and a planetary would be nice. Also, this high ground would probably be a good spot to work with too. But it looks as if for the moment he's going to have a little bit of trouble doing that. Just trying to maneuver some of his tanks around. The Locusts trying to catch some of the tanks. Looks like they almost get a few there. But Crimson has now established, or is about to establish, another base here at the kind of the 7 o'clock position. His 6th base, or is that... Oh, sorry, that's the 7th base, is now on the way. And things are going to get very, very interesting here from this point for both of these players. We have very efficient units. Infestors. Oh, and a good catch there with some of that fungal, dropping out some Hunter Seeker mines as well. There are going to be a lot of Hunter Seeker explosions. There they go, crashing into the Corruptor forces, destroying most of the Corruptors. And that is going to be a lot of dead Zerg down on the ground here on Habitation Station. The Infestors low on energy. They are going to be forced to back out of there, but there is not too much they can do. The SCVs will come back across and repair up these units here. And StoicWilly recognizing that his opponent is in a little bit of a low point right now. Well, with all of those Corruptors down, what are you going to do against these battle cruisers and of course against the Vikings? There's not much you can do. Still only 5 Ravens here for StoicWilly. I do, like I was saying before, I kind of think like 13, 14 and above is where you want to be, but he's sort of lost a couple. We're trying to resupply some of those as well with 4 more Ravens on the way, but just got to be careful. Don't want to lose any of these Ravens. Got to come out here and repair them up. I would like to see that repair very soon. The StoicWilly just checking out what's going on. Finds another base here, the 7th base of Crimson. Crimson comes along to defend. Finds that he will encounter some of these Hellions out of the field. Looks like he's still trying to maneuver around. There are some Hellions on the top side of the map absorbing some fungal growth. So you kind of look at this and you say, oh no, he's going to lose to Hellions because they were kind of clumped up. But That's actually not too bad. I kind of feel like that's a decent trade, losing some mineral units for some energy. It's not the best of trades, but I mean, if Stoic really wants to engage very soon, then he could do it with the comforting fact that that his opponent won't have as much energy ready to go on his infestors. But Crimson has now mixed it up again. 22 Hydras just popped out. A few more just on the way now. And StoicWilly is going to start to push forwards towards his opponent's 7th base, just using a few of the tanks on the high ground here. These guys do have vision and do have sight on a few of these buildings, but not the actual hatchery itself, I would assume. I think that's just out of range, isn't it? I was wrong. I thought that was just out of range, but no. Does get the vision there and is able to hunker down and try and take that one out. Meanwhile, some tanks at the top, getting the Blinding Cloud on top, looking for perhaps another Blinding Cloud. There is that Viper, but it does get shot down. The Dragonfly in the sky goes down. StoicWilly moving forwards, trying to drop out some Hunter Seekers. He's going to see there's a lot of Hydras here, and that's not exactly something that you can just idly run into. So he's going to be very careful about maneuvering here, because if he takes a fungal growth on top of this big cluster of units, and the Hydras come forwards, he could be in a lot of trouble. But he does have some energy. We've got energy for the point defense drones. There you go. Point defense drones popping out. The Hydras are looking to try and take out this command center here. It looks as if a few of them did get all the way up, and he will be able to take that down. But the main battle got raging down here. Infested Terrans being popped out there by Crimson. A couple of SCVs on the ground trying to help repair. The Locusts will take care of them. The Hydras doing what they can to try and target down those Ravens. Is there a spare fungal or two? Looks like the answer is no. Even Queen's coming out here for Crimson, and despite the burrow, he's still getting a lot of damage done. It looks like one of the battle cruisers also getting taken out just to the side there, and Crimson looks like he will barely just inch his way out of this battle. Some of these Hydras burrowed here. You guys need to get out of your hibernation right now, but some Hydras off to the side taken out by Hunter Seeker missiles. You can just see how incredibly effective Ravens are, and this is why, like, generally if you are going for a mech Terran style, you want to kind of aim above that sort of 13-14 mark, because that means that you can point defense drone, it means that you can Hunter Seeker as much as you want, and it's all a very, very happy place for a Terran. But Crimson has been mixing things up, switching in Swarm Host, getting a lot of Swarm Host, then dropping back down, getting some Broodlords, switching across the Hydras now even, and importantly adding in those Infestors. I really think that Infestors and the support units of Vipers and Infestors are very important when you're dealing with Meg. It kind of makes me sad when Zerg players just, as we were talking about before, when Zerg players kind of just say, let's make many Swarm Hosts, because it's just never going to really work against a good quality Terran player. It's never going to work. StoicWilly running through a field of Swarm Hosts there, losing one on the way through. They do a little bit of a drive-by, now trying to escape back towards the main base. A random Widowmine, I'm not sure. Is that one from... It must have just been a random Widowmine that he had out on the field, but StoicWilly will control this base for now. He is definitely going to be looking to take this one here. He needs that gas income, because he does need to get the Raven count back up, so that's probably what he's going to be aiming for very soon. Drones being taken out by the tank fire there. We can see that there are a bunch of lings that were just made by Crimson. He's going to try and do a little bit of a run by here, but there are some Hellions protecting the front door, and in fact, yeah, those lings are not really going to get anywhere as they attempt to flood forwards. Just a random pack of lings that are unfortunately not going to get too much done there for Crimson. But he is going to hold out in this position for the moment. The Swarm Host looking to try and take out the tanks on the high ground, but I think he hasn't actually clicked up to the high ground just yet. So this has been an interesting use of these Hellions from StoicWilly. He's been getting so much damage done with them, especially against some of these armored targets, like the Swarm Host. I'm a little bit surprised about it, but there's barely any kind of protection here, which means that the Hellions can roam around. They've got the Hydras now coming in from the side, which they can roast up as well, and in fact they do exactly that. And StoicWilly really starting to control things at this point, because it's this kind of situation when you're making little sets of lings that have kind of really depreciated over time, that it starts to become a very troublesome thing for the Zerg player to be able to fight his way out of this. As we can see, this is just Hellions, guys. Like, this isn't Hellbats. These are just Hellions, which have a little bit less health. They don't do the splash damage, but they are a lot faster. And they're just roasting up everything. They just cleaned up Lings, Queens, and Hydras in the middle of the map. That's a lot of mineral and gas investment that was lost to just a very small mineral investment of StoicWilly. So, seems like while StoicWilly is a little bit lower on the food count right now, he's in a pretty decent position, but he still does have to deal with all of these swarm hosts. There's a couple of those random brood lords out of the middle of the map as well. And StoicWilly, where is Ravens? I thought we had a big count of Ravens back up. We've just got 3. We've got 6 tanks. I'm starting to reevaluate my thoughts on StoicWilly being in an okay position. I thought he was... I swear we had some Ravens out before. I'm not exactly sure what happened to them, but the Ravens, I think, need to go. They really need to get out on the field. We are going to have around about 8 Ravens in total. We've got 3 already out, 5 on the way. A couple more Broodlords are also coming out, and StoicWilly is going to have a very hard time defending this space now as the Broodlords slowly come across. They float across the field there. StoicWilly is getting a little bit of damage done. But things are going to start to get messy unless these Ravens, unless they get out on the field and they also get some protection. They do need some Viking protection as well, because there are a few Corruptors still out on the map at the moment, and they will be looking to protect all of these units here. But StoicWilly starting to lose one of the orbital commands here at the 4th base. He's now losing the planetary as well. Needs to put a couple of SCVs on here to repair that one up. Or in fact, it looks like he's just going to boogie on out of there. Mineral walks through all of the locusts. And now the extra orbital command is just about to go down. This position just here off to the side is also in a little bit of jeopardy, given that we don't have any tanks. We've got 1 tank out on the field. This 1 tank is just sitting here protecting this base at the moment, which isn't really needed. But there are the Ravens. Good to see the Ravens coming out. They're the Vikings. 4 more Ravens also on the way as well. StoicWilly looking to try and get something done here. I mean, he's got these Hellions which could come and kill off some of the drones here, but they will lose some of the Hellions in the process, which means that he can't harass this base, and it all just becomes a very troublesome situation for our Terran player. Looks like he's trying to get some efficient trades going off. If he would only just look down here, there is no defense on this base. Crimson taking a huge risk trying to actually keep that base up and running, putting down no static defense at all, and StoicWilly needs to get down there and take that down. But as you can see, Corruptor's coming along. He cannot lose Raven. StoicWilly, he's got the 10 out. He's got 12, in fact, that are just hitting the field right now. Here come those the Hellions. They're looking for a couple of targets in this space. They will drive on by. They're going to take down some of the drones. A little bit of whole position action there as we roast up all of the drones. The drone count now reduced to 36. It's going to be even lower than that in just a second, as the rest of the drones of that base are being torn apart. But the big story is that here at the 3rd base, this base is now about to be destroyed. The Broodlords slowly making their way across and have now taken out this extra little side base of StoicWilly, and StoicWilly is now left on the gold right now, and this is really going to start to test the limits here for our Terran player, because while he does have some Ravens out, it is still going to be sketchy to try and finish off this game, because he needs to re-establish another base and get some more income coming through. But it's weird, like, given, I know I've been harping on and on and on about how having all those Ravens out is really good, but at this point, it could be quite difficult. One of the Ravens out of the middle of the map, some splits there from Crimson, trying to protect some of his Corruptors, nicely done. And, I mean, for StoicWilly, he's, I do like the pressure that he's putting on, but he has to be careful now. He's not going to have the best of times harassing this base anymore, because the Swarm Host will be protecting it, and there are also these Broodlords now roaming about, trying to find the last little bastion of hope of StoicWilly. Is he going to be able to save the day somehow with his very powerful mech army? The Ravens and the Vikings now on their way across. Is it enough? We'll probably see some point defense drones and some Hunter Seekers dropping out the missiles. Will Crimson try and move his Corruptors on top of the Ravens? That's what you'd like to see at this point. No, the Corruptors get taken out. We can see now that StoicWilly is going to be able to take apart the rest of this air fleet here of his opponent. The Broodlord's running back, a fungal growth, more fungal growths from Crimson, and he is going to just burst down a lot of these units. The Hunter Seekers have popped out and have taken down some of the Ravens, though, some of the Infestors, and now with more and more units popping out is one Infestor left over here for Crimson. This is a great investment by him, a really nice lure there as well to try and take out a lot of the Ravens, and he did take out a lot of those Ravens, but there's still a few left, and is it going to be enough? this is the burning question, because Crimson is still mining off of this 7th base here, and he does still have a little bit left in the bank, just a couple of hundred left in the bank on both sides, but he has these very efficient swarm hosts here that will be able to slowly siege down this base. And I mean, unless StoicWilly can sort of pick up his mining a bit, he's going to have a very hard time. But now, as we can see, Hunter Seekers is being dropped out on some of these random units. One of them takes out an Infested, the other takes out a Hydra as well. But now the last few units from Crimson are starting to make their way across. It looks as if the Ravens have found the Swarm Host. Do they have enough protection to protect the Banshee, though? It looks like it is a no, with the Corruptor moving forward. Hydra's moving forward as well. The Swarm Hosts are still alive. The Ravens, the Hellions down here at this base are also still getting some work done. StoicWilly needs to perhaps just kill off this last little set of workers, and then he can perhaps try and slowly eke his way back into this, but the problem is he really can't repair at this point. We have no SCVs. He's going to have to drop out mules to try and repair, but I believe that was the last command center, in fact. Oh, sorry, there is one orbital command still left, just over to the side here. So we are going to go to a very, very tense and interesting situation. I think StoicWilly needs to land his orbital command, try and repair up some of these Ravens. You do not want to lose the Ravens, because, you know, as we said before, that's the only possible way he's going to get back into this. But he does re-establish contact with those Swarm Hosts, the Hellions coming along to try and take them out as well. Vikings now dropping to the ground, Heart of the Swarm cinematic style. Looks like they will be taking out the Swarm Host there, a point defense drone, blocking out the Corruptors. It looks like the Corruptor will be forced back, the last lone Corruptor that is out on the field. Now the Hydra's coming along. Will we see some... just at the last second there, split up that Hydra from the rest of the pack. But StoicWilly, his orbital command is still roaming about. Another Hunter Seeker coming up, looking to get some damage done on this Swarm Host. Takes it out. Still 5 Ravens left up in the sky. A single Viking is here as well. Everything is very low health right now. And I mean, for Crimson, if he can get, are there any more Infestors out of the field? It looks like it is a no. We got some Lings, some Hydras, a couple of Swarm Hosts as well, but nothing exactly too efficient just yet. And slowly but surely, StoicWilly is going to be able to take out these units here, but I mean, what's it going to cost him? He can keep in mind, even if StoicWilly loses all of his ground units and even some of his ground buildings, if he keeps this orbital alive, then he can actually continue on the fight, because the auto turrets can kill off buildings. So this is a very, very odd situation here. Crimson mined out on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bases. His 7th base is just mining at the moment, with 34 workers out on the field. We can see some drones now just transferring in, which is really going to help out. StoicWilly using a few mules to mine out the rest of the patches here left on this base, and he is going to very quickly do that, as we can see. Picking up some of the minerals, dropping them back at home, but the Ravens still looking to pick some fights here, taking out some of the Lings, but we now only have 3 Ravens left over. There is no Viking air protection either, so this could get extremely hairy for StoicWilly at this point. These Hellions just looking to run on by. It looks like one one does get taken out. We've still got 9 Hellions out on the field. He's trying to do what he can against some of these Hydras. It's rather interesting seeing these very small unit battles. It's like watching the very start of a game or something like that, when there's almost nothing on the field. But StoicWilly has gotten a few more Hellions out on the turf at the moment. With 10 of them out, we've got 3 Ravens against 7 Hydras, 5 Swarm Hosts, and a bunch of Lings, but we also have those drones, which are really going to... I think this may actually be the end of StoicWilly here, because he's slowly losing some of these Hellions, and he's going to see that there is a mining base here with lots of drones available. It's going to be really hard for him to sort of see that and then say, let's fight on, and yeah, GG, good luck from StoicWilly, as they do finish up 59 minutes and 45 seconds of game time. What an insane game between these two players. It's obviously still a Swarm Host kind of game, which I know people are not hugely, favoring at the moment. But I mean, still a really interesting game just to see how that one plays out, especially on this very easy to split map habitation station. Hope you all enjoyed the match. Make sure you subscribe and say hello on Twitter and Facebook as well. I'll catch you all next time. Here, as you can see, 47 damage to bio units and then the 34 damage against other standard targets. His storms have also been wonderful, just spreading them out across the battlefield, doing really nicely there. And for minigun, he's been sticking with a much more